Hey, what's up? Hello. Welcome to today's tarot reading all about the Cancer new moon. We'll be talking about how you can incorporate the Cancer new moon themes into your life, as well as deepen and restructure your emotional foundations in order to achieve the goals and the dreams that you've been really chasing after this year. So go ahead and get your own tarot cards if you want. Get, some tea, a journal, something to relax and get in a really receptive and reflective mode, and we'll get started. So the first question we have is, what foundational beliefs do I need to redefine to support my emotional growth? So this card will represent the emotional beliefs you need to redefine. And we have two cards. The first is the Knight of Pentacles, and the next is the Three of Cups. The first thing that popped up for me when I saw these two cards was celebration and celebrating the small wins. When you think about the Three of Cups, or when I think about the Three of Cups, I mean, obviously, when you look at it, it's a celebratory card. Everyone is celebrating. And not only are they celebrating, they're specifically celebrating their harvest, the things that they have grown and created and brought into life and now are enjoying the fruits of their labor. So one belief that you may need to change, or this card is reflecting to me, is your ability to celebrate the small wins, the small things. And I know, especially like when you have a really big, audacious, ambitious dream or long-term goal, that sometimes like our brains get so focused on that goal that they forget that we take a million tiny baby steps in order to get to that goal. So one thing is really celebrating that. And the thing about the Knight of Pentacles is, if you look at this horse, the horse is not moving. So one thing I really think about when I see this card is like slow and steady movement. And it's interesting that we are talking about the foundations to like chase after your goals, because the pentacles in the tarot represent stability. They represent physical manifestations of things, like physical manifestations of your goal, like actually achieving your goal. The pentacle also represents foundations and like monetary foundations. And so I know for a lot of business owners, one of the goals is a certain amount of income. And so that is something that maybe a belief that you need to redefine, is like redefining how you celebrate those small wins or those small steps to getting towards the income goal that you have for your business. Other goals, anything that's like offers stability. And it's really interesting, we're talking about foundations. Maybe the celebration helps build obviously a new way to look at your foundation. So the first real emotional belief is celebrating your small wins, and also maybe like not celebrating it to yourself, but also like sharing it with other people, because again, we have three people. Three is a number of collaboration. And so if we think about like sharing with your if you're in a business mastermind with your mastermind participants, or among your team, or just in your life amongst friends or family, or posting it on social media for strangers to see, like just celebrating it. And no matter how small or how slow and steady, like because the knight becomes the king, like you will build towards that king energy, that culmination energy of this goal when you redefine how you celebrate yourself. The next question we have is, how can I deepen my spiritual practice? This new moon in Cancer also is accompanied by a Pisces and a Neptune retrograde, or a Saturn and Neptune retrograde in Pisces. So we have Cancer energy, we have Pisces energy. There's a lot of intuition, emotions, and spirituality that comes with these. So while you're rebuilding your emotional foundations, which are, Cancerian themes, let's talk about maybe some intuitive practice, some spiritual practices to maybe help celebrate your small wins along the way, or whatever other things are coming up for you during this new moon. So let's draw a card to represent how you can deepen your spiritual practice. What is a card for deepening a spiritual practice? Okay, we have one that fell on the floor, which, if you know me, I always have a card fall on the floor. And then we had all these fall, so I will take the one that is on the floor. So the card we have is the Seven of Swords, which this is a really interesting card if we think about it in the context of how can you deepen your spiritual practice. One thing that's coming up for me is like to be out and proud about it, to share it again. It's really interesting. We have this 3 of Cups, this collaboration card, because I feel like that theme's maybe carrying over. The 7 of Swords can traditionally represent like hiding or sneaking energy, or people who are sneaking or behind your back. Another, or like, talking behind your back. Another definition or interpretation of this card that I see whenever I look at it is perfectionism. I always think about this man trying to carry all of these swords, and he kind of regrets that he has to leave 2 behind. So some ways you could deepen it is, instead of being maybe sneaky or behind the scenes with your spiritual practice, like being upfront, coming, out to the people who maybe you think can help you, or who are also maybe doing some spiritual things. If you are interested, you can always join the Curiosity Lab. We definitely love talking about spiritual practices and tarot and astrology and all those things. So if you're looking for a community, go out and search for a community that really fits your needs, fits your habits, fits your personality, and just be out and proud, especially with how yellow this card is. It's kind of yellow in the tarot generally represents positivity, light, excitement, happiness. And so it feels like a way to deepen that is to come out. And by coming out, you interact with more people. You like see the bright side of things, especially if the like foundation that we need to work on a little bit more is celebrating small wins. What better way to celebrate small wins than in a community of other people? And swords in the tarot represent thoughts, they represent your communication style, they represent ideas. And when you are in community with others, that is the great way to collect swords, collect thoughts, collect ideas, as well as leave some behind. Maybe leave some ideas around being private with your spiritual practice, or what even is your practice, or maybe some elements you incorporate, or like when you practice it. Because another thing with the 7 of Swords can be avoiding situations or being sneaky because you don't want to face the reality or face the emotional consequences or anything like that. And so by being in community, by deepening your spiritual practice that way, you kind of are forced to look at it straight in the eye. I think a lot of people have interactions with spirit that they might not necessarily be able to explain. And I'm not just talking about like maybe seeing, a spirit in front of you, but just coincidences that happen in your life or intuitive downloads that you get. And so by joining a group can really help deepen and siphon out maybe some of those fears, some of those behind the scenes things going on with you. And it's going to lead to a really, really positive outcome, because this card is so yellow, even though it's traditionally kind of like a sneaky. I always think of the Riff Raff song "Tiptoeing in My Jordans" whenever I see this card. So that can, kind of dissipate, and maybe you're moving away from that by joining some type of group, or just being out and proud. You don't have to join a group, like, posting it somewhere, emailing a friend, texting a friend, something like that, just to deepen your spiritual practice and deepen the like confirmation that you get by listening to your intuition. And the more you listen to your intuition and you celebrate these small wins, you continue to build this foundation that's solid and trusting yourself, and not so much looking for that outside validation. The next cards we will draw, or card, whatever comes out, is going to represent the bold steps that you can take to embrace change and like start innovating on these goals and start innovating on these foundations. So let's see what card comes out for embracing change. Embracing change, innovating and embracing change. So we have the 10 of Pentacles, another pentacle. Wisdom is the first word that pops into my head whenever I see this card. Wisdom, generational change. So if we think about this card in the context of embracing or taking bold action, the first thing that, pops up is wisdom, listening to yourself, listening to your past successes, because the 10 of Pentacles is the end of the Pentacles aside from the court cards. And if you see this archway in the background, it's like you've like accomplished everything you can accomplish in this, and you're moving forward into the next journey and then, collecting your pentacles there. And it is really interesting that we have both the Knight of Pentacles and the Ten of Pentacles. The Knight of Pentacles, that's slow and steady, and the Ten of Pentacles, that wisdom. So the first thing, embrace your wisdom, embrace your inner knowing, to look back and celebrate, or not to celebrate, but to look back on all of your past successes as a way to motivate you to take the bold step forward. Another thing with the Ten of Pentacles, again, because this, if you see this older person in the front, we can think about them as the Fool, the very, very first card 0, that kicks off this entire journey. They are now looking, at their children going forward. Here's the dog, even from the Fool card. And this person is sitting here really, and they're, it's kind of maybe hard to see, but they have a cloak full of grapes, another thing of abundance. And so it was like, that big leap, which the Fool's all about taking one bold step, paid off. Everything works out, and like your hard work builds the thing even when you can't see it. So how you can embrace change is, again, finding evidence that things have always worked out for you. They will always work out for you, even when they didn't work out, quote unquote. Looking to see, because usually if things don't work out, quote unquote, that like a new door opens that maybe you weren't looking for or didn't realize. And if you focus so much on the failure, you like neglect to see all the doors that have opened up. So even if you're like, well, nothing's worked out with this goal, nothing's working out with my business, I haven't had any successes. Okay, well then maybe take it out of that realm and think about a different realm in your life where you've had a success. And you can even think about like small daily successes. Like we have like this big, I don't even know what the plant is called, but it's like a big bush thing in our backyard that's very overgrown. And so instead of like hiring someone to cut it, we're just deciding to trim it ourselves. And we're doing tiny little steps at a time, tiny little sections of it, because it's a very big, I don't even know what the plant is called. It's just like a big bush that you can use to like create a wall. I don't know what it's called. But it's really interesting to see, like, even though while I'm in it chopping it away, it seems like nothing and it seems like there's so much left. When I take a step back and I look at it and I see like the section I've cleared, it's really crazy to see like, wow, like only, a few more sections and this whole bottom part's going to be trimmed. And I could think of it as like I spent, a whole hour doing this and I still have so much left and whatever. But when I take a step back and go to the other side of my backyard to look at the bush thing, holistically. So looking at your own goals holistically, you can see the tiny successes. And, if you need to, write it down, collect your thoughts. Again, with this sword card, when we think about deepening our spiritual connection, writing it down, listing it out, even if it's tiny, 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 doesn't seem like a big deal, list it. Once you see, because our brains like seeing things. And even if we think about Cancer's sister sign, Capricorn's a sign of achievement. Cancer also has some of that drive to achieve in it. That's why they're sister signs. And so stepping back, reflecting on all of your successes is going to really, like, I think, embolden and motivate you to become the Fool again. Because you see the Fool, they went on the journey, they're cloaked in grapes, money's raining down. Like, they can do it again. That's why that arch is there. They can, restart that journey and constantly go and do these bold, moves right off of the cliff that's located in the Fool card. So write down all of your small successes, again, with that celebrating small wins. It's really interesting that during this reading anyway, that is the foundation that needs to be built, is celebrating wins. And if we think about the nurturing, compassionate vibes of a Cancer, like, there's, a pat on the back, there's a good job, there's a you did great there's wanting to create emotional safety. And usually emotional safety comes with feeling validated. So finding ways to validate yourself seems to be a really, really important time during this Cancer new moon, as well as during this reading. The next card will represent any deep seated limitations that you have on yourself. Like I said, we have Saturn retrograde as well as Neptune retrograde and Pisces. And Saturn is all about discipline, boundaries, strength when building structures for yourself. And Pisces is all about self-limiting beliefs. So how can we combine that Satyrian energy of putting some boundaries, putting some placements there to support you in your journey as you redefine these limiting beliefs, these stories that you tell yourself. Cancer also represents generational stories, generational trauma. So, stories that maybe have been passed down to you, even unintentionally. We think about the Charlie XCX song, Oh Apple. It's like, it's a apple right from the core, like it's rotten from the core, like from all the other apples rotten before or something. I forgot now that I'm on the spot, I can't think of the words, but just thinking about um all of these stories passed down to you and how can you really address them in order to build like this stable foundation of celebrating yourself, celebrating your wins, and seeing things from the bigger picture. So we have the high priestess. The first thing that always comes with a high priestess is intuition. And it's really interesting when we have all this water energy in the sky, and you can see on the bottom of her dress, she literally, it looks like water pouring over the moon, both very intuitive signs. It is really interesting too. I saw recently, if you look at the pomegranates around her, as well as like her cross, is kind of giving the Venus symbol. So tuning into self-love, self-trust. So there might be a deep-seated limitation around trusting yourself, around tuning into your intuition. But I feel like there's something deeper. There is also, like, with high priestess comes listening to your inner voice, because again we have the intuition. She doesn't necessarily represent your inner critic, but the columns next to her represent your rational critical mind versus your intuitive knowledge. And so there could be something there around maybe not listening to your inner voice because the critical side or the problem solving side, or your lizard brain, your primal brain that's like really freaking out about things, might be really really loud. But it's very important to remember, intuition whispers, anxiety screams. And so there could be something like you're not trusting listening to that inner voice. And it's interesting, I was just talking about intergenerational stories that comes with Cancer, because if you do come from a lineage where, especially, I mean, as a woman in the Western world, especially if you're not white, you're really taught all of these stories about like what the right thing is to do, the right ways to think, not listening to your intuition because it can't be backed by logic, is usually intuition, like, you can't explain it. And so really addressing those beliefs around how your intuition speaks to you, how you can listen to that whisper, and how you can use tools to quiet that screaming that can come from anxiety. That's something. There's also patience that deals with the high priestess. So maybe issues or fears around not getting everything that you want for your goal or everything that you want for your business to like happen right now at this moment, and just like riding out that wave, especially if you are not listening to your inner voice as much as you are listening to your inner critic. Spirituality is also a great not a great, it's also a theme that is with the high priestess. So you could also be diving again into your spiritual practice deeper, and one way to do that, maybe quiet that anxious voice, is doing like guided meditations on YouTube. I love the channel Great Meditation. They have a lot of great meditations, usually 10 to 5, some are 20 minutes or longer, to help like quiet your mind and get you centered. They're also, because if we do think about like the critical mind or the educational piece of our brain and the high priestess, this could also be an opportunity to learn more, to research more about different ways intuition can speak to you, because not everyone is going to get the same type of intuitive hits every single time. Some people do, some people it varies, some people hear things, some people dream, some people can smell certain scents, and it reminds them of things and it confirms things for them. Like there's so many ways that your intuition talks to you. So maybe spending some time learning can really help look at those inner beliefs. I am thinking though, like there is something inner critic, because the high priestess um can also be a sign that you're unintentionally holding yourself back with this battle in your mind. So I guess that's my suggestion with this card, if we're taking it in this context, is evaluating how your anxiety speaks to you, specifically around your self-limiting beliefs, how it's screaming to you, and how you can listen to that intuitive whisper. I feel like there's another card. I'm going to draw one more card to see if anything else comes out. That was 4 cards. It's too many cards. Okay. Oh, there happens to be one card flipped over. It's the sun. I just saw it. Success. With the sun comes success. And that could be maybe another deep-seated belief is, what is your definition of success, defining success? And even if we think about, again, Cancer sister sign, Capricorn, we can really think about, well, and Saturn, the ruler of Capricorns right now in Pisces, and again, Capricorn, Saturn, success, achievement. But with it both being in Pisces and retrograde, there's a little bit of like a non-traditional view of success, non-traditional view of responsibility, of discipline. So maybe some deep-seated beliefs around like, what is success? What does it mean to be disciplined? What does it mean to be a business owner, an entrepreneur, a boss, a CEO, a partner, a whatever? Really redefining those, is because especially like it was reversed in the deck. And so that could be, you know, a reversal or a review of success, but I'm just gonna keep it upright for for the video. But so that could be the other thing, is redefining or having a conversation with your inner critic and your inner cheerleader in order to evaluate your definitions on success. Especially like if we think about the long-term goal, you know, if success is success, satisfaction, fulfillment, you know, if those things are at the end or the goal, you're going to have to define that for yourself so you know when you get there. So there is some belief maybe back down there that is that's kind of maybe hindering you reaching that success. So last question is like, what is one action you can do right now to more deeply connect with your intuition, to more deeply connect with your inner cheerleader, your inner critic? Too many cards. We had the Knight of Swords fall, so I will keep that, and I will shuffle to see if one more card needs to come out. And of course it fell on the floor, so I will grab it. So the card that fell on the floor was Judgment. And then we also have the Knight of Swords. The first thing when I saw Judgment was pray. People in this card aren't necessarily praying. They're a little bit more like zombies, but they're still looking up. They still have their hands out. There's an angel on the card. So something about the thing you can do right now, the thing you can do right today is pray. Whether that be a traditional, you do 100 Hail Marys type of pray, or you literally just are like, hey, universe, this is what I'm going through. Please help me see how good things can get, or whatever, you know, whatever prayer style you have, definitely do it right now. Do it today. Do it after this video. It's just one step closer to connecting with yourself, your inner truth, and trusting yourself. Even if you don't necessarily believe anything is on the other side of that, which if you didn't, then that's kind of interesting that you're usually those type of people don't necessarily watch tarot videos. But even if you're unsure of who's listening, just talk out loud to like a nebulous thing and just see what messages come through, or pick a specific, you know, a specific deity to pray to. That's completely fine too. But if you're kind of like, I don't even know where to start, or I don't even know what to say, just say something out loud and just see what comes out, especially because we have the Knight of Swords, and the Knight of Swords is very swift, very quick. And so it is really interesting. Like prayer does lead to something quickly coming into your consciousness, because again, we have swords, which represent consciousness. And the Knight of Swords is also, it's interesting, we have 2 knights. We have both the Knight of Pentacles and the Knight of Swords, but the Knight of Swords is very direct, very swift, very ambitious. And so being, again, direct, quick, and ambitious with this prayer is going to really help connect you with your intuition right now, today, to help you celebrate your small wins, to look at your goal objectively from a bigger view. Look at all of the successes you've had now, or all of the successes you've had with a project in the past where you maybe it's a little bit further from you. You know, you maybe accomplished it a year or two ago, and you can like step back and look like, oh wow, these are all the things that went into it. These are all of the things that I did to actually accomplish this goal. So one last card to finish it all out. This is just an affirmation card. Sometimes they have little prayers on them. I low-key love the way these cards feel. I don't know. It's just when you shuffle a lot of cards, you kind of start noticing like the different ways they like feel and sound and things like that. So interesting. The first and only card we have is freedom. I no longer want this fiery ring of resentment to block the good. Release me from its bonds. And like I said, praying, being direct, being swift, inner critic, you know, dealing with that inner voice that's telling you this isn't possible, not listening to your intuition, listening to that, you know, screaming that comes with anxiety instead of the whisper. When you listen to the whisper, when you find people to help confirm your spiritual journey, your spiritual path, there's freedom on the other end. You know, even with this picture, it looks like the bird is flying out from this cage of rubber bands. And it's interesting, the cage of rubber bands are like prayer hands. And if you think about rubber bands, you know, they're hard, they have a lot of resistance. Maybe it's snapping the hands together like, okay, truly, seriously pray and release that thing up into the air, up into the ether, up into the sky. And it'll help you along your journey for this Cancer new moon. So go out, set intentions, nurture yourself, review your goals, look at them a little bit realistically, a little bit further away, and build those foundations that are going to really take you forward. So excited. If you're interested in this tarot spread as well as some reflections, go ahead and check out the link in the description, and you can join the library or the Curiosity Lab, where tarot readings like this, as well as tarot spreads, other workbooks, a community of other explorers are there waiting to go on this journey with you. I am so excited. Link in the description. Leave a comment. What resonated, what didn't, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.